Hello and welcome to another session of Innovator Spotlight with the Ghana Innovation Journal. I am Ammisaddai Ofori, co-founder of The Innovation Spark, and this week we are continuing our conversation on Ghana's fintech journey. Last week, for those of you who were able to join, we had a very riveted conversation with Mr. Joe Jackson, who is the active CEO of Dalex Finance. And we'll be continuing that conversation this week. He nominated someone equally as inspiring, equally as entertaining to listen to. And so we have on our show today the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Bolton. A round of applause, Mr. David. Welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
I usually don't use a lot of accolades when I'm introducing people, but I have to say, Mr. Bolton, this one I'm personally excited to introduce you. For those who don't know you, Mr. Bolton, can you quickly introduce yourself and what you currently do?
Okay, so my name is David Bolton, as you said, and I'm in primarily the tech space. So I'm the technical director of The SoFTribe, which is a leading software house based in Ghana, and we serve West Africa. And I'm also the Chief Operations Officer of Prime Media Entertainment, which is a record label and global music company.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Bolton. So this is a man wearing two hats. For the sake of today's conversation, we are going to focus on his fintech journey and how he played a role in Ghana's fintech journey as well. So, Mr. Bolton, you've mentioned that you are the chief technical director for the SoFTribe. Can you tell us quickly how you came into this role?
Okay, well, I've been with SoFTribe essentially since it was founded. In essentially what the founding partners of SoFTribe were Joe Jackson, who you had on the show, and Herman Chinrihesi. So yes. SoFTribe was founded in 1991, and at that point, I also had my own software company, and yes. I was doing primarily government contracts, and the very first contract, the large contract we had, was to computerize the airport, KIA, so Kotoka International Airport. And at that time, the Aviation Authority was managing KIA. So we were essentially designing all the software systems. This was way back in 1991, designing all the software systems, implementing the hardware, networking, and all of that. So the software, it was basically what today we call an ERP. So it handled things such as the HRM, human resource management, payroll, inventory, financial accounting, and then also the technical areas of flight safety and en route overflights, parking charges, all of those sorts of things. So Herman was actually the consultant to Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, and I was the contractor at that point. So that's how we met, and essentially the relationship just fostered on, from there and grew. And then we realized that we were in the same space and we worked so well together that we effectively merged operations, and we've been together probably about 30 years now.
Amazing. And Mr. Bolton, many might know your background in being in software at a very early age 17. Sure. I've seen in an interview you mentioned about Ace GP and the success afterwards. And
yeah.
So can you paint a picture quickly? It's the early 90s. You've returned from the UK. You are in Ghana. How's the software terrain like? Do people even know software, buying it, etc.? Yes.
Right. Now you have to remember this is before the days of the internet.
Exactly.
So online was not a thing. We had dial-up services, and I think Africa Online came a few years after that. So essentially everything was offline, and we were running essentially PCs in those days, and these were the days when I don't know if you know that far back, but we had Intel chips which were 8088, and then we moved to the 286, 386, 486 before the Pentium came.
Yes.
so it was it was interesting. Those days, having a 40 megabyte hard drive was huge.
Oh my goodness! I remember
megabytes.
Because a floppy disk was like what, 2 megabytes or so. 4
Yeah,
megabytes.
yeah. That's it. So imagine right now, one picture is more than 40 megabytes.
Yes.
And so even the concept of digitizing pictures and music or sound, audio and video, it didn't exist back then. It didn't exist. So so it was very basic compared to what we have nowadays. But then we were still able to develop extremely complex and sophisticated applications, which achieved virtually the same things as they're doing now. So we developed inventory control systems, accounting systems, point of sale systems, restaurant management, and a whole myriad of systems we developed with that very basic technology, which at the time appeared very advanced.
Yes, I can imagine. And how was it like being able to sell technology to people who might not have even be able to wrap their heads around it?
Yeah, that was the other interesting thing, and that was why I really left the UK. And my background is my mother is Ghanaian, my father was Scottish. So I was born in the UK and grew up there, and then I started a software company at the age of 14. So I was very young, very successful. But then when I came to Ghana, and I realized it was like a clean slate. People didn't understand what computers were. They didn't understand what they could do for them, the benefits. So you really saw the transformation. If you're implementing a system, let's say it's running somebody's inventory control. One of the first major clients we had was Melcom, and we designed systems to run all of their inventory control across the country. They had multiple stores, and then those days there was no internet, there was no networking, so we had to devise a system of moving discs, diskettes. Those days you had the 5.4-inch disc, so they actually had to move those diskettes around with the deliveries to their various stores, so that they could synchronize the the stock control and all of that, and know, okay, in Bulga maybe they're running low on a particular item, so they have to reorder. And so the system had to be able to project based on the historical use or sales of that product, and then project when they would need to order the next batch. And you were dealing with thousands and thousands of products. So it was very, 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 very interesting.
It sounds like it. And you were doing heavy duty computing, data analytics, even before data analytics became trendy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yes,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Mr. Bolton, so 2 decades down the line, what are the significant improvements in technology that we have been able to help the tech ecosystem?
Well, essentially, with every new level of technology, it brings incremental, benefits, advantages, and so on. I guess for us, the major thing was moving from a text-based operating system to a graphical user interface system. So when we were developing those systems, we were using MS-DOS. So they were MS-DOS based systems with no graphics, no pictures, nothing. And so when Windows came along, that transformed, computing as we knew it. The mouse was a completely new thing, which didn't exist. It didn't exist before then. So actually having a mouse, it opened up the possibilities. So it made computing much more accessible to the everyday person. So that was it. And then obviously when the internet finally got to Ghana, it was a huge transformation. I mean, it's unimaginable now not having access to the internet. I mean, just look what happened back in March when we lost the fiber cables. The
Yes.
fiber
That
optic
was
cable. The whole
chaos.
country, it was like we were flung back into the dark ages.
I tell you, oh my gosh.
So it just lets you know how quickly we become accustomed to a particular level of technology, and that becomes our baseline. So that even the idea of going back before that, then it's almost unimaginable.
Yes.
Hmm.
I, I can't even imagine, Mr. Bolton. And thank you for being able to paint that picture. And I also appreciate your involvement in the music industry. So during the 3i Summit, one of the things that one of the most interesting conversations was the one with Mr. Easy, who
Okay.
mentioned how he mentioned how because he has to pay his artists, his creatives, he's had to develop a whole fintech platform to pay his creatives. Is
Hmm.
this something you have faced also in the music industry, and how have you leveraged your experience in the software industry with your experience in the music industry?
Right, right. Well, in terms of the music, the music technology, obviously now it is essentially completely software based,
Mm,
or 90% software based. So my software background helps me to
mm,
leverage that technology and make sure that we're always abreast with the latest developments. Because now,
mm,
instead of having to go out and buy a new piece of equipment, it's a software update or it's a plugin
right.
which you have to then purchase. So it in that regard, yes. And then in terms of leveraging the financial side of things, it's
Yes.
important. We one thing we did was built a platform, a streaming platform,
Okay.
with the idea of focusing that within Africa. Unfortunately, that was exactly the time that Spotify and Apple Music decided
Oh,
to open their doors to Africa. So obviously, when you're competing with very established platforms like that, it becomes very difficult. As you're aware, there are other um, platforms like Aftown and so on who came along, but
yes.
they struggled when these huge multi-billion-dollar companies also came on board. So
Mm,
you do have to slot yourself into the established
mm,
market, but then see how you can innovate. So one thing
okay.
we're looking at doing is we're also a publishing house. So when I say
Okay.
publishing, this is music for synchronization. So for instance, as you know, every single movie, every
Yes.
single sports program, there's music behind it. One
Mm,
movie can have maybe over 100 pieces of music in it, and
yes.
each of those pieces of music is synchronized. They call it a synchronized publishing license.
Okay.
So obviously, there's probably more revenue to be gained in the sync industry than there is in the traditional music industry, where you're looking
Wow.
at, let's say, artists performing and streaming and selling their records. So that's an area that we are looking at very, very closely at the moment. We essentially want to position ourselves as a premier publishing house within West Africa.
Fantastic. I have always admired how the pioneers of the SoFTribe have been able to leverage the technology they have at every moment
Mhm.
to
Right.
innovate. So it's it's exciting hearing you say this. And for those who are just joining, I am speaking with Mr. David Bolton. He is one of the founding co-founders, if I put it, of the SoFTribe. He's currently the technical director of the SoFTribe, but he also has a music background, and he's currently he was just talking to us about how he's been able to leverage his experience in technology in the music industry as well. My name is Ammisaddai Ofori, and you're listening to the Ghana Innovation Journal Innovator Spotlight. This week, we are exploring the Ghana's fintech journey. Last week, we spoke to Mr. Joe Jackson, who is also one of the pioneers of the SoFTribe, and today we are speaking with Mr. David Bolton. So far, Mr. Bolton, we've discussed your relocation back to Ghana, how you got started with SoFTribe, and now how you are leveraging your experience in technology in both music and also in fintech.
Right.
If we can get a little personal, Mr. Bolton, can you tell us why you decided to stay after you relocated to Ghana? I'm sure the experiences were different. I'm sure there were different regulatory roadblocks, even the frustrations with technology. Can you let us know from a personal level why you decided to stay in Ghana and why you've been here for this long?
Okay, so for me, on a personal level, growing up in the UK, and it's quite interesting because when I'm in Ghana, I'm seen as a white man, and when I'm in the UK, I'm seen as a black man. So, so so I grew up, especially in the era that I grew up, racism was common. It was a standard thing. I mean, it even exists now to a large extent, but back then it was very overt. Somebody could actually come and tell you in your face, call you all of all of the racial slurs and all of that. So even though I was very successful there, I never truly felt like I belonged. You understand? So coming to Ghana and then realizing that I had a home and I had a lot of relatives here. I was also installed a chief, which my mother had warned me about when I was about 7 years old, that if I ever came to Ghana, that would be the first thing that happened. So
oh my
she was not for it. But my dad, conversely, who was a Scottish man, he was really in favor of me coming. And I think he realized that I would find a place where I belonged, and I felt that I could really contribute. So I feel like, even though yes, I lost out on a multi-million or multi-billion-dollar opportunity in the UK, I think I gained a lot more, and I've been able to impart and make much more of an impact here. I believe so. I don't have any regrets at all, and I really, Ghana is a very, as you know, it's a very tough place in regards. But I think there are lots of benefits, and truly, look, if we all leave Ghana, what's going to happen? It seems like there's a mass exodus at the moment, especially of the young people who want to just get out of this country. But the reality is that the majority of Ghanaians who do leave end up not being happy, not being fulfilled. So we need to try and change that paradigm. And if more of us stay and show that success here is possible, it will encourage the younger generation to also have hope and know that, okay, if we all work together, we can build things, we can improve the economy and the structures and so on.
Well, Mr. Bolton, I have to admit, you said something that really hits home. The temptation to leave is definitely high, especially compared to the rest of the global market. I have friends who have left, and they seem to be doing relatively better than the situations here in Ghana. So it's also refreshing to hear you say this. And I just want to continue from that thread. You have been here from the beginning, and you are still involved in the space. So what do you think Ghana and Africa is going to evolve in terms of just structure when it comes to not just fintech, but as an economy, etc.? You are speaking about a future that may seem bright, but having been here from the past to looking into the future, what do you honestly think?
Yeah, well, I think we have a tough road ahead of us. It's not going to be easy, and the biggest challenge we have is not really the economy or the politicians, but it's cultural. It's our mindset, and that's something that I often wonder how we are going to turn it around. It has to start obviously in the schools at a young age. But you see, if you take an average Ghanaian at whatever level, once they travel out of the country, you'll see that they work 10 times harder than they ever would here. Yeah, they have a completely different attitude than they did when they were here. Even someone who is a cleaner in the UK, they know that if they're late 3 times to work, they'll get sacked. And over there, if you get sacked, it means you're probably going to lose your accommodation. You're going to lose your credit rating, all sorts of things. But here, we don't seem to have consequences or real consequences when bad things happen. I always say that life in Ghana is too easy, and that's why we're not progressing. You understand? Because it is. Think about it. You drop an orange seed, it will germinate. You get me? Most people in this country are not really hungry, because you can always walk into somebody, an uncle's house or an auntie or a friend's house. You'll get something to eat, something to drink.
Right.
You understand? If you go to the UK, for instance, you go and stay with your uncle in the UK. He'll give you maybe 1 month. Then you better start paying your way. Otherwise, he's kicking you out of his house. It's a completely different culture. And they adopt it. Once they get there, they adopt that culture. So we need to be able to look deeply at our cultural structures. And, it needs a complete overhaul. And that's the only way we're going to turn things around in this country.
Well, thank you for those candid words, Mr. Bolton. For those who are joining, I have been speaking with Mr. David Bolton. He's the Technical Director of The SoFTribe. He's also shared his amazing journey from starting as a software entrepreneur all the way in the UK, coming back to Ghana, relocating, and building what we consider one of the most successful software companies here in Ghana as well. Today's conversation is honestly supposed to be about Ghana's fintech journey, but we can help segue it into conversations around mindsets as well. And thank you, Mr. Bolton, for sharing that. So let's just quickly come back to fintech as we round up. We have just 10 minutes more.
Okay.
Mr. Bolton, I want to find out from you, do you see Ghana having a fintech unicorn anytime soon? I mean, Nigeria has boasted of a few fintech unicorns. Maybe they have a different mindset than we do here in Ghana. Do you think that we have what it takes to get to the next level of having a unicorn in Ghana? And how does that look like?
Well, in a lot of ways, we already have, without realizing it. I mean, if you think about, you see, what we have managed to do is we have managed to find tailored situations, or tailored solutions rather, that fit our situations. For instance, the Momo sector, that's something that in the developed world it's not even considered because it wasn't necessary. But here, when you had such a huge unbanked population, the Momo solution, it has transformed the way we do business, the way we live our lives now. It has mopped up a lot of the cash from the system, and it's brought some kind of level of accountability also. So I think definitely things will, and every single day you're seeing new innovations in the fintech area. So I believe that look, let's be real. We are not. We don't have the population of Nigeria. You understand? They're looking at what I think they must be close to 200 million now, right? So they already have a captive audience. So whatever product can penetrate the market, it's almost certain that it's going to have the capital base and the user base to thrive. Here, it's a much smaller system, much smaller population. But I think it also gives us the opportunity to really innovate. And I think I'm seeing a lot of new startups and young companies who are really coming up with some great ideas. So I think the future is extremely bright for the Ghanaian fintech space. I really do.
Okay. Well, we are going to take your word for it, Mr. Bolton. And for those who are joining, we want to know, if you have any questions for Mr. Bolton, feel free to put them in the comment section below. We are still discussing Ghana's fintech journey. We are rounding up in the next 5 minutes. Mr. Bolton, from your side as well, you look at the future, you consider it's promising. There's also a flood of AI-led innovations. From your end, how do you see AI impacting the fintech space, and then also, because you're in music, the entertainment industry as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, AI is currently a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Mm.
It's but then I honestly, you see, AI it's a buzzword now. It's a real
Yes,
buzzword, but
really
in
is.
real terms, it's still in its infancy, and it's still very
Mm.
clunky. And a lot of things which are tagged with AI are not really AI at all. It's just smart coding, really. So
Yeah,
if you notice, Apple even they were touting AI, and now they've recoined it as Apple Intelligence,
Apple
not
Intelligence. I know.
so
That's so
it's not
cool.
artificial intelligence. I think yes, AI has the potential to do both extreme good and extreme harm.
Mm.
The problem is regulation is extremely difficult
Mm.
because if you take weaponry, nuclear
Mm.
weapons and so on, it only huge states actors can get involved in that, right? So
Right.
there's some kind of check and balance. But with AI, a
Mm.
15-year-old in his bedroom has access to create the most powerful systems that you could imagine.
Yes.
You see,
Mm.
so it's something which I'm quite concerned about how it's going to end up.
Mm.
I'm concerned about AI. It is going to definitely mean a lot of job losses. I mean that no two ways about that. And it's already
Mm.
happening. It's already happening. I mean, for us, for instance, in the music space, AI is being
Yeah.
used to create music, but then there are other areas. Things you see there are auxiliary and ancillary industries attached to the music industry.
Mm.
For instance,
Yes.
if you're releasing music, you have somebody will have to create the artwork. Somebody will have to
Mm.
create a promotion plan and so on. Now AI
Mm.
is creeping in where artwork can be created with AI with literally in 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
You can create videos, full motion
Mm.
videos now can be created with just text prompts. So
Yes.
so
No.
that means already for us, for instance, I don't need to hire an artist, a graphic
An
artist
artist.
now to
Oh my
create
God.
my art.
Yeah.
So that's one job
Mm.
lost already.
Mm.
Yeah, for I don't need maybe a videographer to handle my basic social media promotion. AI
Mm.
can handle that, and it can even design the entire strategy for you because they're
Mm.
tried and tested systems that work. So
Mm.
it's definitely affecting the music industry. It's
Mm.
affecting the software industry itself because
Mm.
the first area that AI is going to get proficient at is in coding. You
Yes.
understand? Many, in fact, I would say most coders now, most developers now rely on ChatGPT to create their
Yes.
base code. So they create the
Yes. Yes.
base code now with
I've seen that.
ChatGPT, and then
Mhm.
they will then tweak it. So
Yes.
it means that they're losing that creative understanding.
Mhm.
They're losing it because now AI is creating the foundation, and all you're doing is now, adding a bit here and taking away, but you're not actually thinking through the entire problem and creating the solution. So
Mm.
so it is dumbing down the developers, which is very unfortunate. Um,
Mm.
you know, but conversely, it's also going to mean that we're going to have more stable software because AI
Right.
can try a million iterations of code in the space of time that a programmer can do one. So,
Yes.
so you understand. So it's a
Really
double-edged
is
sword. It's a
double-edged.
double-edged sword.
Yes.
It's going to mean that as human beings, we are going to have to think very differently about our
Mm.
role in this world, in the general things of this world, especially the repetitive things
Mm.
that are done. It's going to be automated in the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it. 20 years ago, where
Yes.
was the smartphone? The smartphone didn't exist. There was no iPhone. There was no Android. We were using what today we call YAMS.
Yes. The
Yeah,
closest
I
we
think
had was Symbian, I think. That was even way before
exactly. Yeah,
Symbian.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was yeah. Symbian was around. Yeah, that came a little bit later. So you can imagine
Mm.
in 20 years, the the world has transformed in terms of
Mm.
mobile computing and technology, and all
Mm.
the other things that go along with that, like battery technologies and so on, has
Yeah.
transformed. that now, I mean, I'm chatting with you on an iPad, and this iPad can probably run 10 hours on one charge. I can take it anywhere. It's
Yeah.
unimaginable 20 years ago. I mean, I always think if I could travel 10 years back with this iPad,
Yeah.
I'd be a magician. I'd be a god. You see, so we can't. It's not possible for us to imagine where we're going to be in 20 years' time, because things are changing ever more rapidly as the days go by, ever more rapidly.
Yeah.
So we just have to try and hang on for dear life and then make the most of it.
I mean, Moore's law no longer applies, right? Computing
Exactly.
power is more than doubling now.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mr.
Yeah.
Bolton. Unfortunately, our time is up, but there are a
Wow.
few
So soon.
questions.
So soon.
Yes, 30 minutes runs by fast when you're having
Yeah.
fun. But there were a few questions I saw. So if you would indulge me for just a few more minutes, from Zipporah Dankwa, she's saying that it's amazing to hear about fintech being introduced in the arts industry, especially in Ghana. And how can we innovate when we are competing with established $1 million competitors?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think how we can innovate is by providing Afrocentric or Ghanaian, in our case, Ghanaian-centric solutions, things
Okay.
that work here. We still have challenges that the Western companies assume that we work in a certain way, but because of our cultural differences, if you can identify those differences and incorporate that into the technology, because don't forget, we shouldn't be just thinking about people living in the cities and the educated masses. We should be thinking about people in the rural areas, because they stand to benefit far more than us in the cities. So we should be thinking about what solutions can we provide to the rural areas, and I think that's where a lot of the opportunities lie in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Bolton. And for those of you who joined, I have been speaking with Mr. Bolton. He's the technical director of the SoFTribe, and he's also a music genius. If you haven't seen any of his work, go Google him. You'll find all his beautiful work in the music industry. We have been discussing the fintech journey in Ghana. Last week, we had Mr. Joe Jackson, also from the SoFTribe, now with Daylex Finance. And this week, we've continued that conversation. Look out for next week as well. We'll have another doyen in the fintech industry joining us to explain how fintech in Ghana has evolved. My name is Ammisaddai Ofori. I'm director of The Innovation Spark, and I've been privileged to have Mr. Bolton joining us today. Mr. Bolton, before we round off, are there any projects, exciting projects you're working on you want to share, or anything happening in the music industry you want to share before we sign off?
Oh, sure. On the software front, SoFTribe, we're working on quite a number of platforms. Again, looking at existing systems such as Uber, such as Airbnb, and so on, and then giving it a very African spin so that it works within our space. So we're looking at those sorts of areas. On the music side, we have very large American investor who has come in, and we are looking to take our African heritage and push it on the global scale, and so we can compete with the Nigerians, because they've kind of left us in their shadow. Yeah.
That is so exciting. Please definitely let us know all the good news that will be coming. At the Innovation Spark, we also share all the exciting news happening in the tech ecosystem. So we'll be happy to share on our platforms as well.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Bolton. Thank you so much. And cheers to everyone. See you next week.